So, hello and welcome. This is another video for my child safety and child protection course. And in this video, I'm talking about kids and sex. So, it's not to be graphic or anything like that, but it's about teaching children about being safe and about, when is it the right time to teach kids about sex and and other topics that come into play. Now, my son is 7, and he's bound to have lots and lots of questions because there has been a shift in his life, and he's bound to have lots of questions that he wants to ask. And as a parent, I feel it's my duty to, not just my duty, but I see my role as I'm his guide to help him through his life and answer any questions he may have. Now, I was never hidden away from the topic of sex. We did get sexual education at my primary school, and as a lot of kids would do, there'd be lots of kids giggling and finding it funny. But I do think it is important to teach kids about sex. Now, there's always doing it. Obviously, being a paedophile is not the way of doing it. That is immoral. It's soul destroying. It's disgusting, and that's what it is. Because they do it to, demoralise a child and take away their childhood. And so, it is important that you do teach kids about sex and, and respect their sexual preferences, if they, because, the one thing that kept coming up with my ex was about Henry, and if he, turned out to be gay. Well, I'd be there with open arms with him, because that would be his decision and his choice. And as long as he was careful and, practiced safe sex, and, was the right age to, be sexually active, then, I would totally support him 100%. And I would never turn my back on him in any way, because there has been from my own experiences that there has been a lot of prejudice against those who are gay. I'm not. I'm heterosexual, and I am in another relationship now, which is going really well, and it is like the one where I know that I've, met my match. But, teaching kids about sex is important, and I do think it has to be in the right environment to teach children about sex. And you don't really have to go into real detail at first, because what you just want to do is make them see that especially kids who've been abused or bullied, a lot of people use sex as a way of destroying somebody. And if a child has been abused or bullied, that's led to sexual assault, then it can be confusing to them as to what sex is really about. And for me, it's about companionship, finding that connection that you have with that person that is out of this world, where you both are on the same page, where you both enjoy each other's company and just love everything about that person. And teaching children about sex is about being in love, rather than it being something that's abused to hurt, or to give somebody their kicks of demoralising somebody with it. And teaching things about taking precautions because when I first went to the doctor about being put on contraceptive, they didn't give me I would never got, right, well, these are your options. It was, okay, we'll prescribe you the pill. I'll find what it was called, but I'll find, here's the pill, and you need to take this once a day, and then and there was like a time you had to stop taking it. When you're on your period, so if you're on your period, you couldn't take it, but once your period's finished, then you could. But there are lots of side effects with the pill. One is mood swings, which I did get, and it was, I would be, I didn't know what I was crying about, Also, weight gain is a big factor with contraceptive, and also it can cause, you can have lots of extra, pains like in your legs, and also you have to be careful of blood clotting. And what I wasn't told, and what I wasn't asked, because the one thing they ask you is, are you currently sexually active, and and that, but they didn't ever say to me, oh, do you have any sort of like medical issues? Because you're not really supposed to take it if you've got a heart defect, and they didn't mention that. And I haven't seen anybody mention it, but they can. And I do have a heart condition, not serious. I've got a hole in my heart, which I did have to have an operation for when I was a kid, and it is a very serious operation, and I was very ill during part of it, because I am very sick with the anaesthetic that I had to have beforehand. And but the pill, does come with all medication. There's always side effects, and they never, the doctors that I saw never said, right, okay, well, these are your 5 options. I learned about the different contraceptive that was on offer through having sexual education at school, and through reading a article in a magazine. That's how uninformative it can be when you first go on a contraceptive, and they don't give you all the options, which they should do, really. But they do all have side effects, majority of them, because without having the coil, which was one thing that was just for me, but I decided I don't want that, because it can be, once you have it fitted, pardon me, it can be hard to be removed, and I don't want to affect my fertility, because I do plan to have more children. So that's something you do have to think about. And also periods. Now I'm not going to go into detail, but I'm not going to say like, this is me. I'm going to show up with Sancho Town and say, that's me in my period. I'm not about that. But it's just a one that sometimes Mother Nature can creep up on you, and that's it. That that is partly because your body is getting ready to become sexually active, and that can be a very, very confused time, because when I grew breasts and had my period very early, around the age of 9, and I remember being absolutely inconsolable at one point, because I wasn't ready to grow up. I wasn't ready to turn into a woman. I still wanted to be a kid for a little bit longer. And I remember, because when my apartment school, we didn't have changing rooms then. We had toilets, but they stank of poo and wee all the time. So you don't get changed in there, because you could pick up all sorts of germs. That was due to shitty school dinners, which was like shit on a plate most of the time. But with growing up, it can kind of like just hit you. And I remember thinking, no, I'm not ready. I don't want to be a woman yet. I want to stay a child. And we were getting changed in the classroom because we didn't have a cloakroom, or it was changing the cloakroom. And it wasn't at school, at primary. And this girl said, oh, you better tell me more bra, isn't it? And I remember looking down thinking, where did they come from? You know, now I've got a pair of boobs and I don't want them, you know. I remember being so like, Auntie, I don't want boobs, you know, I just want to be a kid still. And it was like a scene from Alien. I felt I had like these things growing up my chest, and I had no control over over them. And even when I first began period, I remember being absolutely traumatized by it, you know. And they probably, you know, see why my name's Carrie, because of that, because it can freak you out, you know, when your body starts to change from a child to a woman, and it can be a massive shock to the system. And it was for me. I was like, I am not ready for this, God, you know, please listen, you know, I don't want to, you know, have boobs or, you know, have a period. I just want to be a kid for a bit longer. But that's nature for you. It can just creep up on you, and that's something that should be told to children, and they should have because they did used to have a nurse or a doctor on site, and you would often get checked for head lice, infections. You would get a regular check at school. I don't know if they do that now, but they used to. And you know, and they should have someone like a nurse or someone on site that you know, kids can talk to about, you know, their body changing, because it can be absolutely you know, like I say, culture shock. And that is partly to do with sex, because obviously your body's changing to get ready to be, you know, a woman and sexually active, you know. And, you know, and then you've got to start thinking about, you know, do you want kids and that. And don't worry about time, to be honest. I mean, I had Henry at the age of 35. You know, sometimes it's just the way it goes, you know. And I read a really good book and it was called, if I can remember it, I think it was called The Diary of a 40-Year-Old Mum, and it was a really, really good book. I'll see if I can find it. It was a really good book, and it was very funny, because like you know, was saying to her, you know, you're getting on a bit to have a kid, but like she said, it was never planned that way. It just happened, you know, and that's true. So what I would say, you know, is I think it is important for children to have sex education, because you know, it teaches about, you know, the change, and also if the child has been abused or bullied, they may be very, very uncomfortable talk about the subject. So, you know, having someone that accounts, I think schools should have in-house counsellors in school, because I do think that would be very, very useful to them to talk to. Because there was a teacher at my secondary school who looked after kids who, you know, were having a tough time, you know. And I do think that should be in schools and colleges, because, you know, life has a way of catching up on you, and certain things, you know, creep up on you. And when you can realise that your brother's old enough to go there, and you know, you can hear him next door, it can be like, you know, I don't be listening to that crap. I don't be listening to that, you know. I want to be, you know, I don't want nothing to do with it. But, you know, it just, I think kids need to learn about more, and not just about sex as in being safe and that, but also the difference between being abused and talk about rape and stuff like that, because it can be taboo subjects. But if they had someone that could talk to kids about it, then I think it would be really helpful to stop abuse and bullying. And I have set up a new website called the Archangels Network, which is working with the National Children's Bureau, Childline, and the NSPCC, and it's basically set up for and it's an extra shoulder to cry on for kids that have or are being abused or bullied. And now it's talking about the emotional. That's the other thing that they should be taught to kids, is the emotional effect of having a sexual partner on, and not being used or being taken advantage of, and also told about drinks being spiked, because that happened to me in a few times when I went out of work. And that's another thing, because that is actually if you've seen the program called Liar, it kind of exposes drug rape, which is very common. And I had my drink spiked a few times going out, and I was very disappointed in knowing that, because it did stop me from going out, because it is so dangerous, and one of the worst things you can do, because if that person's having a allergic reaction to that, whatever you put in that drink, then their blood's in your hands, and you just kill somebody for your own pleasure. And that's another thing they should be talking about, issues around sex, like abuse, bullying, physical, medical, domestic violence, people taking advantage, people using sex to harm people, emotion of sex, because it should be, as I see it, be something you do because you love somebody, not because you want to hurt somebody or harm somebody. And I think if they sat down and had a discussion about it, I think that would help kids. And this is to say, if you've got children who come up to the age of wanting to know about it, then it's sitting down and chatting with them is the best way. You don't need necessarily to go on the internet, but just talk about feelings, and what to be careful of, and making sure it's someone that's gonna not hold it against you, if you know what I mean. So so that's just talk about talking to kids about sex, and it is something that is should be important. And we do need to respect our kids' preferences when it comes to who they find attractive, whether it's men or women. And I do think we are a lot more open now when it comes to sexual genders and choices, because there were a lot of people in the 80s who kept it a secret for a long time and didn't want to tell anybody they were gay, because they were scared of the prejudice and the attack that that could go against them. And so a lot of men would marry women to cover up their sexual choice. And that's kind of sad, because I think I've talked about it in another video. We had a lovely teacher called Mr. Wynn at at primary school, and I didn't even, not even something that I even worried about, to tell you the truth. He was just a lovely teacher, very, very good looking, I'm not gonna lie, but obviously didn't see him that way, really. He was a teacher, and I do believe in boundaries and all that, and he was just a lovely, lovely guy, had a heart of gold. St Paul's, wasn't one of the roughest schools in Hammersmith, but it could be rough at times, and some of the teachers there used to get such a hard time. When we had all supply teachers, some of them didn't even last a day, and I used to feel so bad for them because they used to get absolutely murdered sometimes. But Mr. Wynne was one of the teachers that everybody respected at the school, and he was gay, and it wasn't something that we even worried about, but because there was such a prejudice against people being gay, a lot of them kept it a secret. So, and that's kind of sad, because it's not allowing people to live their lives how they wish to live it, as long as it's not hurting anybody or harming anybody, then it's people's choice. And that's what I want to say. If you're a child watching this, or you've been a child that's been bullied and now an adult, then don't sit there on your own, go over it, speak to somebody about it. And I'd love to hear from you as well, because even if you don't want to share your story, if you've got any tips and advice that you'd like to share, through my video, through this video, then go ahead, because I think the more we all talk about kids and sex, and the right way of using sex, will help protect children and prevent abuse and bullying, and also teenage pregnancies is a factor, because there was a couple of girls at my school when I was at secondary school who fell pregnant, and I know it can happen because let's face it, when you're a teenager, you've got a boyfriend, kids will have underage sex, but it's talking about it is the thing. And and I'm not saying that I've got anything against teenage pregnancies as such, because sometimes you just can't help it, even if you do take precautions, because not all the contraceptives that are available are not all effective, and but talking about it, and how to protect yourself, really should be the main subject. And if you are if you are a teenager watching this, and you want to know about sex, and speak to somebody who you can go to, and there are birthing clinics that you can go to for advice and support, and I do think they should set up a thing at schools so kids can talk about it and discuss it. And if you have been, you need to remember, if you are going to get pregnant as a teenager, remember your body's not fully formed into a woman. So, and just be aware that there can be extra complications when having a baby as a teenager, and and talk to somebody about that, because obviously if you're a teenager currently pregnant now, I've got nothing against you at all. I just hope that you have help and support, because having a baby can, even when you have it in the right way, can still be very isolating, even though it's one of the most wonderful thing in the world. But there is such thing as postnatal depression, which I had when I had Henry, and I kept it quiet, and I didn't tell anyone because I felt ashamed and felt like I was a bad mother for admitting it, so I kept it quiet. And also discussing about future pregnancies, because also if you've been pregnant and have had abortions, that can take a toll on your fertility. This is part of sex, and you know, it can damage the body if you have too many abortions, especially as a teenager, because like I say, your body's not fully formed really until you get into your 20s. So that is something you do need to think about, and does need to be discussed with your kids, just to make them aware of it, you know, and what different, you know, contraceptives they can use, and how to, you know, use sex in a good way, not in a bad way. So I hope that you find this video useful. Sorry it's gone on for too long, but I hope that this helps you in the child safety course, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.